The topic of tonight is a kind of a mixture, both celebrating Matan Torah, maybe giving you a little time break from studying for finals, and applauding you for learning Torah during finals and keeping up that kfiyut. So we applaud you for that, and we welcome the newcomers, we re-welcome the old comers, and I wanted to talk two major topics tonight. I didn't want to go over the whole Beit HaLevi with you. I hope you got through most of it. I thought it was a really amazing Beit HaLevi. We'll go over some of it. But basically two major topics, not going through everything. First topic is to try to understand the Gemara, since it is Shabbat of Matan Torah, of Yagata and Matzata, to understand what this Gemara is referring to. And the second part of the shiur will be to try to define what exactly is the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. There might be actually, I think there's at least according to certain Rishonim, a connection between the Reish and the Sefer, between the beginning and the end. So the first is Rav Yitzchak's famous statement, now that we all have learned it together. The Gemara Megillah Daf Vav Amabet says, V'amar Rav Yitzchak, Im yomer lecha Adam, Yagati velo matzati. Person tells you, I was trying to figure out, I didn't think up of a good answer. Why this is true, again, maybe it's too much of a drush, too much of a gadata in my head, but why is somebody telling you this? You know what I'm saying? You just coming on the street, hey, yagati umatzati, you know what I'm saying? Why is somebody coming over and telling you that? So I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I was thinking about it for a couple hours. I didn't come up with anything good. If anybody can come up, Ms. Blum, if you have something to tell me, please. B'simcha, we pick on new people here. Now, Amar Yitzchak. So I don't have a good answer. Im yom alcha adam. If somebody will tell you, Yagati, I toiled, v'lo matzati, but I didn't find it. Al tamin, don't believe him. Lo Yagati umatzati, I didn't toil and I did find. Al tamin, don't believe. But Yagati umatzati, believe. The Gemara says, Hani mili, this is all true with divrei Torah. But Masau Matan, business, it's Siyata D'Shmayahu. It's all help from God. Then it says, Divrei Torah, that which we said, P.S. about Yagati Matzati, believing, that's only Lechedude, what's called pilpul, what's called svara, which is called really working, sharpening. But Le'uk Migirsa, to make sure you know the Pshat, to make sure that you remember it, that's Siyata D'Shmayahu also. So there are a lot of things that I want to pick up on. Really both the Agata part and the Matzata part I really want to talk about. We'll start off with the question of the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon even before the Vilna Gaon, what's your questions? I mean, I love the Vilna Gaon. But before we ask the Vilna Gaon's question, when you read this Gemara, did you have any questions, any thoughts before running to the Beit HaLevi? No thoughts. No, nothing. It was simple. You didn't have the crazy question of Yom Alcha Adam either. Yeah. Natan, what do you have to say?
Well, I just need to make sure you understood the Mishnah, right? The Gemara.
It's not a Mishnah, it's a Gemara. No, good.
It's Gemara.
Good. I'm with you.
But why does it seem that Chadude?
Right.
I mean, if we assume that that Siyata Shmaya is on a I don't know, a higher lower level, but why do we assume that Chadude is easier to come by than that Chadude is automatic, but Ukma Girsa, which seems to be the remembering it, is Siyata D'Shmaya, that's not automatic, that you need Hashem's help for.
Right. Agreed. I mean, that's an assumption. Good. We'll get to that. Maybe. Not so sure. Maybe. Good question. Why all of a sudden is the Chadude something quote unquote maybe easier, maybe based on your effort, versus look at me Girsa Siyata D'Shmaya? Now the truth is, can somebody poke a hole in that question also, just based on the language of the Gemara? Based on language, yeah, Ms. Watson.
It sounds obvious.
What?
You can read something and understand it, but for you to remember it, you have to go over and over and over, and it's really with God's help that you'll remember it enough.
Okay, that could be. I hear that. Even though there's a concept called the memory seminar and how much you remember also, but that's fine. But even there, even in what Ms. Wasser said, there's still a assumption that's not true. It's written in the Gemara.
No one can be very sharp off the bat. Like a person can read a dialogue and be very sharp about it. Why do they have to go over it? Why do they have to put a lot of effort into it?
Okay. We'll talk about the effort piece. We'll definitely talk about that effort piece also. Some people are naturally smart, I guess, and I hated those people in high school. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, go ahead.
It actually, I think that it seems like the Ukme Gears is the easier one. You don't have to work hard and you still might get it, but the Yugato Matsaka, that's one that you have to work. Like, what you were saying is that it seems like it's easier to get the Chidude because all you have to do is work for it. But
Right.
I saw it the opposite.
Right.
Thought,
The simple interpretation is like the other side, the dark side over here, right? The simple interpretation seems to be that I hear what you're saying, but simple interpretation of the Divrei Torah, the only way where you work hard and you find it is when you're sharpening yourself. But Lukmi Girsa, then you need divine help, right? Which means it sounds more, but I kind of said an important word. What word did I say? Now usually we're used to like studying for finals now, lahavdil, and you work hard and do you use the word find? Right? You don't use the word hard. You work hard and find. I work hard and I conquer. All right? I work hard and I've aced this final. You know, I'm up till 3, 4 in the morning drinking whatever I'm drinking. I used to wear like the blue sweatshirt and the fluorescent green sweatpants. You know what I mean? Adina Katz would love that one. I knew that. I knew she was all over that one. Right? At 3, 4 in the morning, right? It was all, right? It was mine! Yagati and Kavashti. Yagati and Matzati.
Itzlachti.
Right? Itzlachti. Itzlachti, right? I have kids. Itzlachti. You know what I'm talking about? No, I'm talking about. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know yet. So what's this language of Yigia and Metzia? Right? Which is where the whole comes from, right? When you had said, I work hard and I got it. Right? But it doesn't say that. It says, I worked hard and I found it. Right to the point that the Vilna Gaon.
Like a passive language.
What'd you say?
It's more passive than you'd expect.
It's not even what does fine mean? It's true. It's passive. What does fine mean?
It's if it's not as a permanent effect of all of your hard work. It's kind of like you were
Right.
looking all the time and like the whole time was right in front of you, but like you didn't. It just happened upon you as opposed to like.
It's a natural result,
all of your hard work.
right? It's not a natural result from your hard work, and if it's not a natural result of your whole work,
What's the point of the hard work you're gonna?
that's true. But also, what is the other assumption? Then how did you get it? How did you actually get it? Not either by chance, or if you're from, you say Siyata D'Shemaya, right? So if you're from and you say, Jessica, Siyata D'Shemaya, ask the Vilna Gaon, right? Go with me with the Vilna Gaon. Let's go from for tonight. Okay, right? If what? If you have Siyata here and you have what? Siyata D'Shemaya at the end of the Gemara now, the Gemara doesn't make any sense. Right? That's how the Vilna Gaon saw this and asked the question on this Gemara. Right? If it's Yagata and Matzata, right? Then again, this is an assumption. I think you can ask a question on the Vilna Gaon's question, but this is how we ask the question. Got that a lot of questions there, right? Yagata Matzata. It's not a natural result of my toil, but Hashem has helped me find it, right? So that's called Siyata D'Shemaya. So therefore, now I have L'Chadude Siyata D'Shemaya also, and also the Le'ukmi Girs is also Siyata D'Shemaya. Ask the Vilna Gaon, what's going on here? That's the Vilna Gaon's question. Yes, Miss Jessica.
But
She's like, don't be so from. Yeah, go. Yeah.
I mean, I think that does make sense to say Yagato Matzata because sometimes
Good.
with all the
Good. I'm listening. Go on.
okay.
I'm excited.
So,
It's good.
I mean, sometimes when you're looking for something with all the mess and all the pilpul and everything, you get lost and you lose the point. But like with Siyata D'Shemaya, you hope to not like go off on all these tangents and not get back to the real point. Meaning, in other cases, like if your memory lapses or whatever, Hashem helps you, so you remember it. And in other cases, I forgot the other one. Whatever the other one. Business or whatever. Like it's all B'dei Shemayim, but like sometimes even if you have the right intentions, you can still get lost in the intentions and not get to the point. So like that's also it's not so.
You're saying the Metzia is. So explain how you.
No, I'm saying that it's not so weird to say that. You know?
Say that it's Metzia. How are you defining?
To say that Siyata D'Shemaya is
part of L'Chidude also, to make sure to help you not get lost from the point.
I think
That's what you said, right? I think that's what you said. Okay, that's what you said also. That was the Vilna Gaon's question. Any other thoughts based on his question? We're going to talk a little bit more about the Metzia also. How the Vilna Gaon how Rav Shlomo Volbe, in his Alei Shor and Perik Shlishi answered it up. He answers it up based on a different Gemara in Eruvin that says that for a person have Talmud Mitkayim Biyado, which is synonymous with Ukme Girsa, a person quoting from a pasuk in Bamidbar, Mibidbar matana nachliel im adam mesim atzmo kemidbar zeh shakol dashim bo tamudo mitkayim bo. Meaning, the difference between chidude and ikme girsa, explains Rav Volbe, is that chidude is mitzia and ukme girsa is a matana, which we started seeing a little bit in a Beit Halevi also, which we'll explain. I don't think he says the exact same thing, but it's very similar, right? Basically, what's the difference between a lost object and you find something in a present? When you find an object, do I need somebody else to sell it to me when I find an object? Right? Assuming that it's hefker? No. Right? Ein dat acheret makna. It's an easier mode of acquisition. As opposed to a matana, I need dat acheret makna. Without it, it doesn't work. And that's what 100% explains the Rav Volbe, and it's very similar to the Beit Halevi also, which we'll see inside. And he just goes, I think, the Beit Halevi just goes an extra step. But he says the Chedudi also needs siyata d'shmaya. But that's a mitziyah, right? You don't need as much. As opposed to Ukrim and Girsa, you need a double version of siyata d'shmaya by a matana, right? The idea is you need a lot of toil to sharpen yourself, and you get it as a mitziyah. Hashem helps you see things clearly, as Jessica said. As opposed to ukme girsa, you have to make yourself like a midbar, to be mitbatel yourself in front of the Torah and make yourself a mikabel, both not only at the shat limud, but have your aspirations to really understand it, so you do not forget it. You saw, yeah,
Can you explain that again?
not a problem. We'll see that very similar also in the Beit Halevi, which is in front of you. Basically, just to tell you what Rav Volbe said, but really the Beit Halevi said something very similar with a little more of a twist. He answers both of them does need siyata d'shmaya, need siyata d'shmaya, but there's a different level, right? The idea is one is a mitziyah and one's a matana, right? The chidude is mitziyah, where you have to work at it, and then Hashem will help open your eyes. As opposed to the matana, it's more than just working at it. It's what? You have to make yourself like a midbar, says the Gemara in Eruvin Adaf Nudalid.
One's only factor of the other.
What'd you say?
One's only factor of the other, meaning.
It could be, or it's the double. It's the double dosage, right? Making yourself a midbar is much more than the first case, where you're working hard, right? As opposed to all of your aspirations, making yourself like a midbar is to be litpatel, and you need that as much more dat acheret maknelo. Right? Maybe that Hashem will have to see that you do that double dosage in order for Him to be makne it to you. As opposed to the first case, mitziyah, you don't need dat acher makna. You need Hashem to help you out a little bit, but you're just working hard. Similarly, not exactly, you saw in the Beit Halevi where he quoted a pasuk in Tehillim of Alita lemarom shavita shevi lakachat matanot ba'adam va'af sorim lishkon ka Elokim. He wanted to understand what does Shevi and Matana have to do with this? Shevi normally is against your will. Matana is somebody who gives it out of Ahava. How do these work together? Right? Lekach is like by Mekach Memkar. So like the Beit Halevi had said that there are three elements in Limud Torah. And the concept of Mitoch Shalol Lishma Balishman, he quoted our Gemara, which we just said. And he just started off one step before. He basically says, Yagati Matzati is Miloshim Shevi, which is, I work at it, I can have not the most L'Shem Shamayim thoughts. I work at it, and I get it like booty. Right? I get it, it's there, I take it, it's mine. And as there's no, right, he's not assuming, like, at that point, like the Vilna Gaon, right, without the Siyat D'Shmaya at that point. He's not being Medaik in the word Mitzia at that point. Right? He says, Yagati Matzati. Right? That was the first part he said. Then the second part he talked about, that was what we call, the first part was Bechina Shevi, where the Ikar Aschiyah, around 5 lines into the Beit Halevi, Ikar Aschiyah hu mitzad hatofes, the person who grabs it. Shenota lachifetz bekocho Ubal chayfetz eno makidelo. He's not acquired to me. I acquired. Batach ba leid bala v'shala lo yachzar kol mi shelo made, and I'm going to be yigia b'Torah hu batuach asher yasiga shalal ve'in tzarich lazeh shum tanai. Right? Even if I don't have ma'asim tovim and I'm osek ba shelo lishma, right? That's what happens. And he explains later on a beautiful mashal. I remember if you got up to it with the menorah, you saw that the menorah normally is on the right side, right? But when you walk in, right, the menorah is when you're walking in from the east side, right, the menorah is now on the left side. And the symbolism that what he said is that even when you walk in, there's the mitoch shelo lishma. You can get the left side is like the mitoch shelo lishma. He explained that later on beautifully. That you can even have the wisdom represented by the menorah on the left side. Even at the beginning, you could be shelo lishma. When you first walk in, that's representative to the beginning of the process. At that point, then he went on to the second point. The second point, he said, is where you need both sides. Le'ukmi girsa, he said that's b'china zu b'china lekicha, by mekach umemkar, by business, right? Hazachia talui b'dat shnehem. I skipped around 2 lines, we're on 7 lines in the Beit HaLevi. Be'amakne sheyirtza lahakne lo hachefetz, right? The seller wants you to buy it, and I, the buyer, want to pay for it. That was the second piece, where there's a du-sitri, there's a two-way relationship for it happening. And the third bechina was after I've learned, right, and I've gotten it lishma, then on a certain level, there's a certain level of even the pnimiut, if you will, the razeh Torah, the skulos, the sodos, right, even what you did not toil for, right, then you're able to get that also. And then that's what he says, Kim b'Torah Hashem chavtzo v'Torato yegei yomam v'layla. That at the beginning it's Torah Hashem, that's called a pnimiyut. And the Torato hi niglela adam. And Hashem says, if you want the Torah Hashem, you want to work hard for it, then you will be able to get not only the niglos, but also the sodot, and that's the matana, right? Di karot toloi ben no sein. That's the third level. That's really not dependent on my work, right? I did what I did, and I can get what was revealed to me, and Hashem gives me more. That would be the question of the matana, and that's the ascending order of the pasuk. It starts off with shevi, which is all dependent on me, the worker. Then was the second level, which was the mekach umemkar, the lakachta, both, and find the end part was only from Hashem, who was the matana. Try to confuse you more, or not try to confuse you more. Meaning there are more pieces which we're not going to talk about now. I mentioned most of the Beit HaLevi. There's one other piece that he quoted from the Yerushalmi, but one other point, which is what he just called in Matana. I think you could see that in Metzia also, which is, for me, you always, when you find, when I learned this Gemara and I thought about the Metzia piece and I saw some sources talking about it, what happens when you find like $100 on the street? What's your first initial reaction? Don't give me the from shot so fast. What's your first initial human reaction? Adina? Money. More money. Right? She smiles because you're happy. Right? You're happy. It's like you didn't have to work for that and you're happy. Right? Mitzia comes, you're happy. That's the first initial reaction. Right? So I thought, and that somehow I worked for it. Im yagata. And then matzata. Why is it mitzia? There's going to be a simcha. What's the simcha? So what I said, I saw a little bit more in the Sichat Musar afterwards. The Sichat Musar, which we had said, what he just said as a matana, you could see as a mitzia also. In page Kuf Lamed Vav, the Sichat Musar, he says when you're paying attention to something, Natan Lev Lazeh, Shal Yidei Yigiato Zocher Lahasig Yoter Mikfi Shir HaYigia. And that's what it means, mitzia. It's more than you've worked for. I worked to X. Now God gave me this $100 bill, right? Whoa, this is amazing. Like it's something that it's an unexpected gift, because I only worked to get the 85. But now that I came to the shiur, I'm probably going to get a 97. I'm going to get like a Facebook. I didn't do that, right? But that's the question of the Yigia. Yigia was up to X level, and now, Kadosh Baruch Hu, what the Beit HaLevi called the matana, it could be explained that also what a mitzia is. It's more, right? It's a mitzia because I didn't expect it. It's more than I put in. Who said that? That was what I said, but then I found that what's more important is the Sichat Musar of Chaim Shmulevitz in Sicha of Maimer Lamed Bet, which I think worked into our natural response of what a mitzia is, something you didn't expect to find, and there's a certain simcha, so it comes gradually. When I worked only to get that 80, and now all of a sudden you got 95, you're like, hey, right? That's really great. This led into, I think, the introduction to both the part of the Yigia, right, which I showed you the Marsha. I don't know if you got up to it. The Marsha, right, the concept of toiling within Talmud Torah and toiling. The Marsha and the Gemara says this is the pshat we say in Hallel. He'emanti ki adaber ani aniti miod ani amarti bechovzi kol adam kozev. You have that in front of you. It's the last source right in front before it says Talmud Torah. You have that? Was that cut off? Was that there? Anybody? He sees it. Marsha, Moreno Rav Shlomo Edels from Poland. Okay. Rav Tichtin. Okay, 2 lines there. He says, this is the pshat. When we say in Hallel, He'emanti ki adaber ani aniti miod. He'emanti, I believe, shematzati. Why? Ki adaber she'aniti v'yagati ma'od bazeh. Because I toiled with it. But when I say bechovzi, that I got it, no problem, like with fast, below yagia, then he's just a liar. Don't believe him. Kol adam kozev. He's a believer.